Welcome to the fastest bicycle rider in the world seminar. I hope you're gonna enjoy it. It's a lot, because the story of Mijutello is kind of touching at everything through American history. But I have tried my best to synthesize it for you guys, and I hope I'm doing a good job. So my name is Cyrille, Vincent. I'm an independent filmmaker and producer, and I really got into the story of Mijutello because I live in Worcester, and I went to the public library and I discovered a statue outside, and I went to check more about it, and I was fascinated by everything I found out. As a filmmaker, I went to look for a movie, and I did not see anything satisfactory. Although there is a bunch of projects, video on YouTube, but I did not find anything that was treating the subject of Mijutello with the intensity and the passion that he has himself. So I decided, to venture into making such a thing. It's extremely difficult to do that, but we are in the process of making it happen. So I could have called my presentation this morning the original goal, just because I know that can trigger some response, because we all have our different goal in sport. We have the most contemporary ones, Michael Jordan, I can think of Tom Brady, if you love that sport. But Mijutello really for me is the original goal, and that's really because he was one of the greatest athletes, if not the greatest athlete of his time. And some of the things he has done still stand, especially when it comes to talking about track competition, because after all, he was a track cyclist. So he was born in Indianapolis in 1878 from a father that was a slave. His father actually had to enroll in the army to gain his freedom, and that's how he was able to gain his freedom. So Mijutello comes in 1878. That's probably 13 years after the slavery was abolished. So it's really in that context that everything is happening. He grows up in Indiana, until his dad. When his dad comes out of the army, the war is finished. They live in Indianapolis for a little bit, and his dad takes him to walk into a family, a white established family. They were pretty rich, the South. They were called the Saudade, and they see in Mijutello something that they appreciate, and they ask the father of Mijutello if Mijutello could come and live with them in their house with their young boy. Dan, and everything that Dan got during this time, Mijutello got them too, including a bicycle. That's pretty much where we believe the first acquaintance of Mijutello with the bicycle happened. Of course, the family moved to Chicago. Mijutello has to, use the bicycle to deliver paperwork, the newspaper around town, and because of his strict riding and the fact that one day his bicycle broke and he went to a bicycle shop to fix it, and when he was mounting the bicycle to leave the bicycle shop, the owner saw the way he mounted the bicycle, and I guess he saw talent, and he asked Mijutello, who teach you that? And he's like, I learned it myself. I can do even more if you want. So he said, okay, I want to see. So anyway, long story short, this gentleman owning a bicycle shop recognized Mijutello and his talent and gave him an opportunity to work in the shop for quite some time. And during this time, Mijutello has the possibility to connect with people, with some athletes in town, including Buddy Munger. Buddy Munger was a high wheel racer. He retired and created a manufacturing company, the Buddy Munger Manufacturing Company. He started in Indiana, but he moved out here around 1895 with Mijutello, because at some point Mijutello could not train. When he recognized that Mijutello had talent, because really Buddy was the guy, He connected him with Arthur Zimmerman. I don't know if any of you guys heard of Arthur Zimmerman, but we can talk about that more. In 1895, and I want to mention first of all that in 1894, the League of American Women took they kind of banned black people from racing on any professional circuit, so that including Major Taylor. And in that same context, he couldn't train at the YMCA. You know, it's very important. If you want to accomplish that kind of thing, you have to be able to train. So Major Taylor moved to Worcester around that time, and you know, because of Birdie Munger, Arthur Zimmerman, a gentleman, Charles Brady, and a bunch of other people who saw in Major Taylor the possibility of being a great wheelman, they did their best to convince the board of the League of American Women in New York so they can give Major Taylor a license to race. So pretty much because he was good and because they could convince the board, you know, they gave him a license, but it was some sort of exception because many people even were wondering how the Major Taylor is taking part in some of this race. Believe it or not, in 1896, this is pretty much December 1896, and that's probably three months and a half after Plessis versus Ferguson, which is pretty much the Supreme Court upholding a rule that, you know, we can live in a society that is equal but separate. So this 6-day race, for example, at Madison Square Garden is happening in that context, and Major Taylor is exceptionally taking part in this. It incensed a lot of media and a lot of people, right? Because Major Taylor was the youngest. He was the only black in the race. And to do the 6-day race, it was known as an inhumane and brutal race because, first of all, you had to have a lot of experience to go on those tracks. You have to ride around the track for 6 days pretty much. If you want, you can stop, but it's up to you. And some riders, you know, they had a crazy schedule. Major Taylor, for as far as he was concerned, it was 8 hours ride and a half-hour rest. 8-hour ride and a half-hour rest. Imagine doing that for 6 days. You know, some of them had 12 hours and, you know, even less rest. They would rest on the bike while riding. There are some crazy pictures about this. Some would eat, drink coffee, read the newspaper while riding. Crazy. But anyway, this race ended up being banned later because really people started hallucinating. And the funny thing about the 6-day race is that this is when Major Taylor started as a professional. This is the first professional race. And also, you pretty much, he did about 1,732 miles for 6 days. He did not win the race. He came about in 8th position out of 25 people who started. Some of them dropped out during the day. And something not incredible but funny is that the more time would pass, the more the velodrome would be filled. Because people would love to come around the 3rd, 4th, 6th day because then they have a chance to see more crash, more hallucinations, more crazy stuff if you want. So that's why it was popular. There's a lot. You can learn more about the 6th day. There's a lot. But this is where Major Taylor started. In 1897, he's already racing all over the place, you know, including Philadelphia. But this race personally is interesting for me, and I believe for American history because, you know, I think I put a question mark, I know, but I really think this is, when we talk about integrated sport team in America, we're always trying to go back to Jackie Robinson, right? He's pretty much the as far as we know. But this is a team that was put together in 1897. You know, you can see there is Major Taylor and a bunch of famous riders, Frank Butler, Burns Pierce, Nat Butler, Eddie McDuffie. And this is a race in Charles River Park in Boston. I really like to point this out because I really believe, unless somebody else has something else to argue, that this is one of the first, or if not the first, integrated sport team in America. And it's considerable for Boston and also Philadelphia, although the Philadelphia team, lost this race, so sorry. So, Major Taylor, after that race, we might come back to it, but he raced in Philadelphia. This is, usually I don't have this slide in my presentation, but I thought since I would be in Philadelphia, maybe there will be people interested to know if he did race here. Yes, he did race here. Some of the parks, again, were enforcing Jim Crow laws, but it's what it was. But, because he was exceptional, he ended up in some of the race he won. I believe he won in one of his biggest race of 1898 was in Philadelphia. And, I put a little map there of where that could have been. There was the Woodside Amusement Park. I mean, there was a lot of activity in that park, but they also had a velodrome, like a track velodrome where they would host races all the time. If you go back a little, 2 slides, I mentioned the Charles River Park ride, and Eddie McDuffie was one of the teammate of Major Taylor, but this race particularly is advertised during that time as black versus white. And that's because promoters really saw that if they could antagonize the public and make the race more dramatic, they would have more people show up. And it was true, because that's what would happen. People would show up either to support or to be against one of these riders. And that one of those buttons is now at the new Major Taylor Museum in Worcester, Massachusetts. So 1897, 1898, 1899, Major Taylor is really the talk of the town everywhere he goes. In 1890, this is a few posters. The first one here is La Vie au Concert, which was a Parisian, I would say even the French in general, because they cover all France and Europe. And it was one of the biggest magazine, outdoor or sport magazine or culture magazine if you want. And they will advertise, this is I believe in 1898. So 2 years before Major Taylor even ever showed up to Europe, he was already in the front page of the magazine. And this is because of all the record he has been setting in the midst of tremendous adversity. People are doing everything to knock him, to poker him down. They even choke him outright on the track. One of the race in Tottenham, Massachusetts, a rider, William Baker, wasn't happy with Major Taylor, and after the race, he just came right after and choked him out. I believe the police had to intervene. But Major Taylor went out cold for 15 minutes, and that's just because the rider was upset. Guess what? The attacker got a $50 fine, and the referee, or if we call it a referee in this kind of race, decided that although Major Taylor won that race, they have to redo the race. And Major Taylor was, of course, too tired. He just got choked out, unconscious for 15 minutes. And he won the race. They ripped it from him out in front of everybody. But anyway, because he was able to keep his cool, great sportsmanship, of course he had a great faith, because religion is very important for him. We will learn later that he refused to go to Europe to race on Sunday for $10,000, appearance fee. Why he's having hard time in America, but because the race was going to be on Sunday, he said, no, I'm not doing it. So this is a poster. The latest saga, so I want to mention first of all that in this time as well, a lot of bicycle brand, I try as well to get Major Taylor to ride their bike, right? And it's kind of a risk, but he was that good that some entrepreneur took the risk of presenting him, although the culture was resisting. So he rode, Saga, he rode a bunch of bikes, including Stern, Saga, Ivor Johnson, Peugeot, Alcyon. And in 1899, he goes to Montreal for the World Bicycle Meet, and he get, his biggest prize, the most prestigious prize, the 1 mile. And that's how he's still known today for that big prize. So this is a few locations. Those postcards are original postcards that Mijotello sent to his daughter or wife or friend. So we were able to actually get to those primary source of archives, some of his postcards, his letters, diaries, and things like that. And you know, he tried everywhere he goes, especially in Europe, to send back home a postcard or something about that place. So between 1901 and 1910, he's touring all over Europe. At this point, he already agreed to go to Europe. There is no race on Sunday, $10,000 appearance fee, and any money that he will win during the race. One of the most incredible, and by the way, this is the trophy, that's an original one. It's now at the Indiana State Museum, and he won that one against Edmond Jacquelin. Edmond Jacquelin was one of the best painters that France had ever produced. And France was kind of the capital in some way of cycling at that time in the world, because a lot was going on there. I would say Europe in general. So that's Jacquelin, very good, but very snazzy and snobbing, because he spent his time trying to snub Mijotello. But Mijotello, you know, he had a great sportsmanship and he only let his leg talk. So that was what was that. This is a picture of them coming out of, and he's looking at him with a little smile. Mijotello is kind of cold because he did not do well in the cold weather. Long story short, the first hit of this race, Jacquelin won, and he pointed his thumb at Mijotello when he's celebrating. And Mijotello did not like that. Mijotello asked for a rematch race, and it happened, and Mijotello, you know, showed him who was the best, and of course, he was the best. The machine, I thought, you know, since this is a bike expo, I will talk a little bit about that. At this point, really, I want to mention that Mijotello, all of this is happening as well in a time when the bicycle is still really in, I don't want to say infancy, but in a boom, let's say that. And you know, the technology that was used, a lot of it is still used today, you know, especially when it comes to track cycling. And I mentioned earlier that he was sponsored by many bicycle brands, and the deal was always to try to make it as light as possible, you know. And Ivor Johnson, for example, where you can see on the picture, that picture here is in France in 1901. That one here, it's at the US Bicycle Hall of Fame, and that's a Peugeot bicycle that Mijotello rode after 1902, and this is the stem that is believed to have been popularized by Mijotello. I don't want to say invented. That stem actually is being called the Mijotello stem, but there is no pattern or no documentation. A lot of brands throughout history have used and sold this stem, and sometimes even using their own name on it. And there's a big conversation. There's a group of, you know, nerdy cyclists. I don't want to name that group, but they talk about this thing. They talk about this thing all day long. And it's just crazy when you read that. I mean, there's one that I love because it's not that crazy. It's the Cape, that's C-A-B-E, Cape group. But anyway, you can find a lot of discussion about if Mijotello invented that or no. So he, like I mentioned earlier, he got married. He met Daisy at the church ceremony. That's his wife, Daisy. That's his daughter, Sydney. She was born in Australia in 1904, and you know he was a good husband, because when you read the letters, and a good father as well. Of course, a good brother, because he take care of his sisters, especially his sister Gertrude when she was sick. But sometimes when we talk about everything Mijotello has done on the track, we forget that he was a man. He had a personal life. He was married. He had a daughter, and you know his greatest accomplishment on the track take over the conversation of who this gentleman was. And he was a loving and caring person. He often tried to travel with his family when it was possible, but it wasn't always possible. So he would send them postcards and letters all the time. So his legacy, you know, he died penniless, knowing, keeping in mind that during his time he was one of the greatest athlete, and he was at some point even the most paid athlete in America, but he died penniless because of a few bad investment. He got some sort of a heart issue. He tried to write his own autobiography and sell it himself. And just a few bad investment. He tried to invest in a steel wheel that don't work, you know, and he traveled to Chicago, exchanged at that point from his wife that he loved dearly and his daughter. But his legacy is still, you know, nowadays going on. And I believe that's because of more of his character. Of course, he was an incredible athlete, and there have been and there are still incredible athletes around. But I think his character, his sportsmanship, and his faith is the things that inspire new generation to keep pushing his legacy, because now we have about 50 major tailor cycling clubs all over the United States. There's clubs in Africa, there's clubs in Taiwan. There are many cyclists, not just black cyclists and athletes I have talked to, who, you know, believe that Major Taylor have inspired them. Rashan Bahati, Justin Williams, Nelson Vales. Those are the people that look at Major Taylor like the Messiah. I mean, I talk also to some athletes in Europe, and they still respect Major Taylor's legacy as well. And I believe we should respect his legacy. One of the things we are doing for that is to create a documentary. It's a hybrid documentary, because really, although we have incredible athletes speaking and narrating the story, what is driving the story is the recreation. We brought in actors in period costume, with period props as much as we could find, or we can find. And we think that, you know, movies are a powerful medium to talk to millions of people. I mean, there have been biographies that have been written on Major Taylor, and you know, there have been, like I said, multiple projects. But something like this with recreation would draw more crowd. We did a trailer that we tested, and we see it's working pretty well. The running title is Whirlwind. Like I said, it's a hybrid documentary, 90 minutes. That's the budget out there. It's a fraction of what Hollywood will want to produce that kind of movie. But we are willing to do that because, you know, and when I say we, it's my team, the actors, the crew, and everybody that is involved in this project. So far, we have raised about $70,000. It's an independent production. And really, I think it's only this way that it's going to be made, because really, a movie on Major Taylor should have been made long time ago. We shouldn't have waited until now to try to make something. Something like this should have happened. And so since Hollywood and people with some deep pocket are not doing something, I said I would try to do something. I know it's going to cost money to do it, right? But I will go for it. And so far, I think it's going well, although sometimes I feel like it's slow. But I'm going to show you guys the trailer, and if there's any questions, we can take those questions. I think we, right.
His story was so powerful.
No black athlete had ever encountered what he had to do.
He set out to be the fastest man alive.
Major Taylor is a part of American history. He was the first one. He was this world champion.
He also had to deal with a tremendous amount of backlash, purely racially motivated against him.
He faced a lot of adversities in order to ride because of the color of his skin. He went through a lot. He didn't have to do this. He could have quit.
What was Major Taylor riding for? What drove him? What was Major Taylor chasing? What was he running from?
All he asked for was the right to compete, to be there. whether they were going to give him a fair opportunity or not, he was going to give it his all to show that he belonged. Major Taylor wasn't just racing for himself. He was racing to change the world.
Well, that's it. Thank you very much for everyone for making time and coming. If there's one or two questions, I'm happy to take those. If not, we can have side conversation. If you haven't got a poster, we have some posters of the upcoming movie. Check it out. The website is on there. And if you can help and participate in any way, go ahead. We really appreciate that. You don't have to be a millionaire. $1 here, $10, whatever, or a connection, because it's not all about money. If you know somebody that can help this production get to fruition, because like I said, this is a story that needs to be told and the right way. And if we do it right, we can inspire many people, because this is a very inspiring story. Any questions? Yes.
Is that clip long enough? Are you going to sort of film festivals to try to pitch it as well? Or?
That's a great question. Yes, right now it's not long enough to be a short and get into film festivals. So right now we are putting together a short film with some of the footage that we have already got, and we're going to be filming a little bit and getting into some festivals, and putting this project in front of people, that can help it.
Are you engaged in any type of social media campaign to raise money for the film?
Yes, we do have a page. It's called Whirlwind. We are not boosting the page, like paying for that, so it's organic rich for now. We have about 10,000 followers, and that has been done organically. And the reason is, I mean, if we had money, we would probably be boosting some of the posts. But I believe, if you can have an organic crowd, it takes time anyway, because if you have to bring the right crowd organically, it's going to take a lot of time. But to your question, we have I would say a fair social media presence. It could be better if we had money to boost our post.
Did you say there's a museum in Worcester?
Yes, there's a new museum. It came, I think it was inaugurated in 2021. There's a new museum in Worcester, and it's a small museum. It's not like big museum type thing, but yes, there is. Yeah, you should take a trip.
Yeah, we're in Connecticut, so it's not far.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things to see in Worcester. There's a landmark, a boulevard. Like I said, the statue is there. So, and Worcester has a lot of history, so you can see a lot more. Yes, sir?
Yeah, they have some odd hours. You better check before you
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir?
Did his autobiography ever make it into print?
Yes, it was kind of a self-print, if I can say so. But there have been, you can't find the original one right now. At least if you find it, it's going to be very expensive. You can maybe check on eBay. But there have been more recent publications putting it out on Amazon. Maybe you can find it on Amazon for $20, $25. But the original one would cost a couple $1,000, because of course, Well, thank you guys for coming, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you.